can see now that I've started my wire drawing on my contour line drawing that I did on tracing paper. And just to go over a few things before you start getting into this, we have to pay attention to nail depth. We don't want to drive the nails all the way through the board, so you should compare a nail, and it should be about halfway or a little more than halfway. So one thing you could do is mark a nail, and then you can use that to measure how deep your nails are in. You should still always have a pad underneath where you're nailing, and you shouldn't be nailing on a surface that you could potentially ruin, because you could still drive a nail through this pad. So make sure you're doing this on a concrete floor or a workbench. If you do happen to drive any nails completely through the board, you're going to want to make sure you take your hammer and tap those back so you don't have nails sticking out of the back of your project. One thing I do want to go over, and one of the more complicated things to do on this is eyes. So I'm going to go over how to do that. Now, we don't want to put nails on every single bend and change in direction. We want the wire to take those bends and changes of direction. So you'll see when I actually do this, I'm not going to put wires every inch along the hair. I'll put and space them out and let the wire bends take care of the shapes. So just to visually show how the eye wire works, I'm going to, so if I have my two nails here, a common thing people do is they just kind of loop the wire like this, and it just looks sloppy. So what you want to do is you want to go across and stop on the one edge of the pupil and make a nice bend down, then stop, make a nice bend, stop, nice bend, stop, nice bend, then go and come back underneath with the wire. This will give you a more natural looking pupil than just loop-de-loop. And it depends on how much of your pupil shows. You might be looking up slightly, or your eyes might be slightly wider, so you might look something more like this, which is fine, it just all depends. But you want to have those nice bends where your pupil touches your eyelid. So when I hammer these in, again, I'm going to start by holding the hammer up a little taller, and it depends on how you're comfortable. If you don't have good control with the hammer yet, hold it up here more. And you could start by tapping the nail in, getting it started, and then we drive the nail in the rest of the way. Now for this eye, again, I don't want to put a whole bunch of nails there. And this is a tight area. So I'm going to make sure I'm very careful with my wire bend so I don't lose the detail of the eye. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. Now the first thing I'm going to do when I pull the wire out is I'm going to pull extra wire out. That way I have plenty of wire to work with. And when I start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go past where I'm going to start looping my wire around and wrap that around a few times. Okay. Make sure that's nice and tight. Then I can take my wire cutters, cut the wire, and pinch the end so it's nicely fastened. Now, it's important you pay attention to where the wire comes off the nail. My nail happens to line up at the bottom of the eye, and I'm coming off the bottom of the nail here, so I'm going to make sure I continue that. If I was coming off the top, I would probably go do the top of the eyelid. So you have to pay attention. So if I have my nail here, and say this is my nail, it makes a difference whether the wire's coming off down here or if the wire's coming off up here. You have to pay attention to these things. Sometimes your line might come to the center of your nail. So then what you're gonna have to do is take your pliers and pinch the wire so your wire wraps around and comes off the center instead of going down like this. Little details like that is what's gonna make your project look really nice. So as I'm bending this, and I'm gonna try my best to keep my fingers out of the way of the camera here so you can see what I'm doing, but I'm going to use my fingers to kind of pinch and hold the wire down. Now you can see here, my wire's going underneath my line, so I'm gonna use my pliers to kind of pinch it onto the nail a little bit. Okay, and see how I made just that slight angle there? That's just gonna look nicer when this is complete. I'm gonna use my hand to hold the wire into place. Now I'm gonna do the top. And again, my line isn't lined up with the top of my nail. So I'm gonna take the pliers and I'm gonna pinch that wire to get it in line to where it comes off of my nail there. I'm gonna bend this wire a little bit to get to the top of my eye. And I'm gonna go across and I'm gonna pinch with the pliers right where that direction change happens. Okay. And now I'm going to curve around. And this is a tight area, so I'm going to use my pliers to help me get this curve the way I want it to look. And things are going to be moving around while you're doing this. You could always set it once you anchor it to the nail. Okay. So you see I have my eye there, and now I'm going to pinch it where it needs to change direction again. Okay. I'm going to hold that into place and come down to my nail here. And it just so happens to line up with the edge of my nail, so I'm going to keep it like that. Now what I'm going to do is go back and make sure I line things up the way I want them to be lined up. And there we go, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back and then I'm gonna pinch the wire up to get the top of my eyelid. Just like that, okay? And then I'm gonna pinch again. And then I'm going to wrap around this nail. And at this point, I could decide, you know, do I want to come back under the eye? Do I want to leave it? Do I want to get this detail here? It kind of all depends on what you're going to do. Because I don't want to put so many nails under here. It's better to have fewer nails than too many nails. The nails kind of distract from the actual picture. So actually I'm going to go back under here and get underneath And it's just continuing to make these decisions of where you need to add extra nails, where you need to change directions, and you're just building these layers now. Okay. And then, of course, when I'm all done, I'm going to go back, straighten things out, get things lined up again. Because things are going to move as you're working on this. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's just carefully moving along, working with the wire, and taking your time.